Hello, my name is Kathy, and welcome to Awakening Waves. You'll see that this channel is usually where I talk about my trauma and how I've overcome these little steps along the way, and what I think about labels such as CPTSD and PTSD and oh, everything that's out there. Um, and I'm, in a spiritual type of journey as well. And by spiritual, I mean spirituality. I'm not a religious person. I'm not going to do some Bible thumping or anything like that. And that's just me and what I choose. And I don't have any opinion on anybody else's journey. You just here to help you realize that we can walk together on a very tough life. And if I sound tired, it's because I just woke up not too long ago. And I've been trying not to reach for my phone, you know. Um, and the reason I say that is because, uh, I'm trying to adopt the habit of just waking up and just kind of going through life, what I experienced yesterday or the dream. Like last night I had several dreams, and the one I woke up from, there was a woman who I went to high school with, and in my dream I had a heart attack, and I went to the hospital, and they let me go, because apparently in my dream I was well enough to go home right away. And so I'm walking along a street, and I don't quite remember why I was walking around the street, especially after having a heart attack and being let go in the same day. In this day and age, that's not going to happen. But it was really strange, and you'll see my hair is all discombobulated. I did try to brush it into submission, but not right now. Anyway, I usually will, and I was walking down the street or up the street. It felt like I was walking a little bit up a hill. And my friend from high school um, was walking down the hill, and I touched her, and lightly touched her arm, and she ignored me. And I leaned over and I said, I had a heart attack. I'm on my way home now. I'm okay. And she ignored me like I had done something wrong. And, my life, especially as a teenager, was all about who could like me, you know. And even as an adult, I was a people pleaser and trying to find out who I could be friends with. And over the years, I've had several girls break up with me. And that is very painful. It's almost it's almost as bad as a romantic breakup, and sometimes it's even worse because it's like there's a level of intimacy in that we tell each other's secrets to each other, and we really reach each other on a very intimate level, in that we're talking about our everything, our bodies, our minds, our emotions, our thoughts, our dreams, our opinions, everything. And there's nothing we can't talk about. Where even in a romantic relationship, you may not be able to reach that level of intimacy because there's always this little bit of a step where you don't take because you don't want to jeopardize your relationship. And with women, I think we tend to hold each other in a higher regard. And there's almost like this unconditional love where it's not as unconditional when you're in a relationship. And I could be wrong about this, and maybe it's just me, but I always viewed my friendships with women as, I want to say sacrosanct or something like that, but I don't know if that's the right word. Um, it was just very important to me. And when these women broke up with me, it was horrible in all these different ways. And I always felt like it was just me. As a 60-year-old, I can tell you that a relationship is a two-way street. And if there was something that was bothering them about me, then they should have said so. And I come to realize that I am who I am, you know? And so I don't search out female relationships. And the reason why this is coming up is because I just read an article. And it's funny that I read this article because once I kind of decided that I wanted to get up, and my Izzy, my dachshund, she was kind of moving around on the bed as if to say, "Hey, Mom, it's time to go pee." So I kind of grabbed my phone and I was reading an online magazine called Provoked. And I don't have the specifics on their website or anything like that, but I will try to, before I post this, I will include that information down below. And anyway, there was an article about a woman who lost a friend. And in my head, I'm thinking about my dream, and I'm thinking about my past with my girlfriends and how I got broken up with. And I'm thinking that it's something like that, a relationship went bad somehow, somebody said something wrong, or they had a big fight, or something like that, you know. So I went into reading this article with that in mind, and it was more about how they went to school together as kids, and through high school and everything like that. They drifted apart. They weren't like super close. They were just sort of acquaintances more than anything. But then, they were able to keep their relationship because of the job that one of them did. And I'm not really going to get into that because if you want to read the article, I don't want to give the whole thing away. But it ended up where one of the friends was no longer there, and how much she relied on her presence in her world, and how hurt and grief-stricken she was over the loss of her friend. And it made me think about grief and how there's so many different ways to grieve. And I bring this up because it's going to make me cry. I've been going through some stuff. Let me calm down. This past few months. And that's why I haven't made any videos since I think June 19th was my last post, I believe. And whew, I didn't think I was going to get this emotional, so you pardon me if this is uncomfortable for you, but I think we should all get a little more used to people being emotional, because that's what we are at the crew of it, whether you're male or female. Apparently I was experiencing a lot more than I gave myself credit for recognizing. So my son graduated high school on May 30th, this past May. And then we're a one-car family, and my daughter's car broke down and died a very inglorious death, and we've been without transportation ever since. And we've had a couple times where, money is not very prevalent in our household, so Ubers and stuff like that are not something that we can take. And I don't have the abundance of money to just go out and buy another car. I've been living in a state of lack of wealth, if you will, for quite some time. And I've become used to it. And so it didn't feel like it was a big deal, but something as simple as taking a short ride or going to the store. My life was very limited. It had become very limited with the CPTSD and the PTSD and the traumatic event back in October of 2022. When Angel died, his death wasn't the only thing that I lost. I lost so much. There was our future together, of course, but I experienced the loss of my marriage and my husband and my best friend, and all of that came crashing down on me. So I didn't know that at first. It's taken me a few years to realize that the grief there was more than just the death of this man. It was the death of my marriage, my friendships, all the little traumas and all the big traumas that I've experienced my entire life. I realized this through talk therapy, reading. Well, reading is not something I've been able to do, and I was not very much anyway. And I love reading, but it's not something I can focus on because of the PTSD and the CPTSD, and kind of they're one and the same, but they're different too. So this article made me realize that the reason I've been unable to post more videos is because I've been grieving. There's my role in life as a mother. I'm no longer a mother of children. All my children are now adults. I've got a 37-year-old, I've got a 28-year-old, and I've got my 18-year-old. I have a granddaughter, but she doesn't live with us, so it's not the same thing anymore. I mean, she used to live with us, but she lives with her dad now. And there was that too, and losing my granddaughter, my first granddaughter, when she was 3.5 back in 2016. It was kind of the unraveling started then, very small little bits of here and there along the way. And then at the end, my husband got sick again with cancer, and I think that was the catalyst that allowed me to have an emotional relationship with Angel, because I just was scared, and not just for the death of my husband. Like, if he were to die, I would lose him, but I would also lose my financial security. I would lose probably my home, and I would have to start a whole new life. I insured myself that I got that, didn't I? It's ironic. And after Angel died, just before Angel died, my dog died. my aunt had passed away in 2020, and she was like a second mother to me. And then my uncle, who was her husband, passed away in 2021. And then my husband left the house, and then Angel died. And then after Angel died, my cat died. I felt so sad about that. And my cat Max, we came home from a store shopping thing, and he had died on the kitchen floor, and that was sad. And then my mother passed away in August of 2023. It'll be 3 years. It's hard to believe. And at the end of October, it'll be 4 years that Angel passed away. But on top of that, after the car died, and I haven't been outside of the house very much or for very long because I'm getting a ride from someone else, who happens to be my soon-to-be ex-husband's partner. It was after the car died and after Father's Day. There was sort of family drama regarding that, and that's not my story to tell. The thought out there was to talk about, well, I should backtrack. There was a dinner after my son's graduation, and I had mentioned that, I'm ready to talk about the divorce proceedings. Let's talk about a separation agreement and go for the divorce. And in Massachusetts, you don't have a legal separation agreement. It's just, in order to sell this house, we need some sort of agreement that says this is what my ex-husband will get, and this is how much I'm going to get from the sale of the house. And then the sale of the house actually hadn't been mentioned yet. It wasn't until, oh geez, I can't remember exactly, the end of June, maybe early July, mid-July. Honestly, time just is crazy. It's like amazing how quickly time just goes by nowadays. I mean, we're already in August, for heaven's sakes, And once we started mentioning the sale of the house, I thought that I was going to hang on to it for a little longer. But then when it was mentioned, it was like, I could use the money. I need a car. I think I'm done living in this house, and I love this house. I gave my house a name. This is Irene. And she's sheltered myself and my family for a long time. And I love the view from here. We have a beautiful surroundings in this town that we live in. It's hills and dales, and I feel like I experience like a card, or one of those paintings where you see the hills and dales you get little glimpses of a farm, and I can see that from my kitchen window, and the hills, of course, but you get the houses and the church steeple. We used to have two, but one of the churches burned down a few years ago, got struck by lightning. That was very huge in this town. It was a lot of people went to that church. And I can even see the stoplight in the middle of town when the trees are bare. And I hear the traffic from Route 9, and the thought of moving from here is liberating, because not only am I moving into my own home, but my children are leaving too. I've got one who's going to go live in with a boyfriend, and another who's going to go live there. And then, of course, my 18-year-old is off to college. And it's been a lot. It's a grief over my role as a parent. It's the grief over my marriage. It's finally being initiated to end legally. Um, it's going over what I'm entitled to, what he's entitled to, and kind of moving through that and filling out forms, although I didn't do that. His partner did. Uh, she did a lot of work with that. She did a lot of legwork and everything, and I'm so appreciative because I think it would have been very difficult for me to do that myself. Um, and signing the papers, um, she did the filing, which was great. Whew. Actually, talking about selling this house and what we have to do because of the trauma that I had and the lack of funds, I haven't been able to keep this house up the way that I would want to. Or, the way that the house needs me to. So we have to sell the house as is, and that's a little bit of a wow. I kind of dropped the mic, not the mic, but I dropped the whatever I was dropping. Of course, I'm still sleepy a little bit, and words just, they're here, but they don't want to come out here. It's just been a lot for me, and that's why I haven't posted. And so when I read this article this morning, just a little bit ago, it made me feel sad. And at the same time, I guess a little hopeful for my future because I have the potential of making friends again. I think that's going to be a very difficult thing for me to do. I might hold myself back a little bit because I've been very hurt time and time again, and I don't want to get hurt again. And that's something I'm going to have to figure out how to do, opening my heart and letting things, fall where they may. I've learned what friendship is. I mean, you have your friends from high school, but you're not really close friends. And I feel sad for that. And if any of you are my high school friends and you know a little bit about me and I know a little bit about you just because we watch each other's lives through our Facebook posts. And we congratulate each other for grandchildren or if somebody gets married again or they buy a new home or they go on vacation or a whole bunch of different things. We're very happy to be somewhat witnessing of all that. But when you think about somebody who's lost a partner or who's lost, in my case, I lost my grandchild. And by the way, I don't feel like I lost her. She's been with me every day since. I really believe that, we don't die, we just exist in a different way. And she's shown that she's still very much existing. And my mother, my dad even, Angel, he's shown up a few times. And I think that friendship is important, and it's important to have people. And I've been very isolated with all this. And I don't think I'm ready to approach a friendship or anything that just yet. But my point of all this is that we're not getting any younger. Time continues to march on. And if you're in a point where you feel very isolated, I mean, we can certainly build a community here. I'm always open to listening. You're not alone, not really. Whether it's through a virtual relationship such as it is with myself or with someone else, Or like you have your Facebook friends that you haven't seen since high school. Um, those are all little connections and they're worth something. I mean, the friends I've had from high school, maybe I don't have deep relationships with them, but I still treasure them. They mean a lot to me. And my dream sort of pointed that out, that, you know, her ignoring me meant that something I did mattered to her. And it's up to me to find out what that is. But of course, you have to have someone talking to you in order to find what that is. And then you can kind of talk about it. But I realized that, you know, all these other breakups and stuff along the way has been, I put it on me, that it was my responsibility to figure out why. And if I didn't find the answer, then maybe I wasn't supposed to find the answer. And maybe what I was supposed to do was to move on. And for whatever reason, I didn't quite move on because I would relive it sometimes. And that pain can be very unreal sometimes. It could be very hard. And if you're in a space right now where you're missing friends and you're missing family, then I hope that you'll not do what I did and what I've done and what I'm probably going to continue to do until I can find that strength in myself. Is I'm hoping that you'll be able to take the step towards having a deeper relationship. Oh, it's going to make me cry again. Because I know I value deep relationships. I just can't seem to hold on to them, and I'm not quite sure why. But that's on me. That's my story. What I'm trying to tell you is that any relationship is a two-way street. If it's going to work, then both of you have to be walking on that street, preferably together, not ahead, not behind, not walking toward each other, but walking with each other, and knowing that, you know, you'll do your best to be the friend that you think you deserve. You know, if you feel like you deserve a good friend and that you want someone who's going to sit beside you when you go through a cancer diagnosis, or God forbid one of our children dies, or our grandchildren, or anything hard like that, that they'll be there for you. Or they'll be the friend who comes by randomly without notice. Hey, just checking on you. How you doing? I just baked this loaf of bread today. Let's have some. And you know what? I just made some jarred, what do they call it? Not jarred. I just made some jam. So, you know, let's have some. We'll toast it in the oven and like big thick pieces. Can you imagine? Oh, the smell would be awesome. You would toast it in the oven and put slabs of butter on it and tons of fresh jam and just gab with each other and laugh about this or that. Maybe Mr. Sullivan, I don't know Mr. Sullivan, by the way, in the grocery store just laid out a fart so loud and so long. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. And, you know, you just have stories to tell. My mother and her sisters, especially my Aunt Lou and my mom, they would sit around each other at the table and they would talk about shit. Because my aunt was an RN and she she would talk about shit stories. And it just made them laugh so hard. Isn't that precious? To laugh with someone like that? You got to keep your sense of humor, people, I'll tell you. And that's where I'm kind of end things here. I just wanted to come and say, you know what? I'm going to do my best to continue to make videos, and a lot sooner, at least once a week. And my goal is also to put out daily videos with quotes and how I interacted with something like that that's potential, you know, for me, with all that journeying I've been doing these past almost 4 years. And even it's been 10 years since Elizabeth passed away. And all the trauma that we endured as children, and being able to just to kind of come to terms with it and realize that our parents, most parents, are just doing the best they can with what they know, just as we are. We know just how injured a person can be, and is having a child, that injury is somehow put onto the child, which causes trauma. And you can forgive your parents, maybe. I'm not telling you what to do or anything like that. I've forgiven my parents because I think that they were just doing the best they could, what they knew. And I've forgiven myself even. I've never claimed to be a perfect parent, but, I was doing the best I could with what I knew. And I grew as a parent, and when you finally have that child, I was my third child, I was 40 something. And, you kind of learn things along the way. But these generations, they're so different now. And they're not willing to be told what to do. And that is very difficult because, maybe you were born in the 60s and 70s, and even potentially in the 80s, you were told what to do, and you did it. Even if you didn't like it, even if you bitched and moaned, you did it anyway, because the consequences was usually something horrible to you. Whether you get a spanking. As a little kid, I remember spankings with a belt. And not very often. There was only a couple times that I remember. And, disagreeing with your parents and all this other stuff. And, that's swinging back to friendships. That's where friendships are very valuable, where you can talk about these things that, just, I hope that you can do better than me, that you can get out there. I hope that you have friends that you can talk to. But if you're isolated and you're really struggling, there is a number that I include in all my posts, where you can talk to someone, and you don't know them, and you don't, but they have that impartiality where they're just listening to you, and you get to talk, and you get to let that out instead of letting it fester. So please, if you're at that point, you got to do that. You can leave a comment, and I will do my best to respond. I get notified when somebody responds, but, my channel is incredibly small. And as that, please like and subscribe to any post. I will subscribe to my channel and like my posts to help grow my channel, so that I can help other people who might feel incredibly isolated and, traumatized and just going through a lot of crap. I can't guarantee that anything I say will help you, but I can guarantee that you're not alone. I'm here to say that. Whether you are isolated or not, I believe that we have our higher selves, we have angels, we have our guides, we have God. What I think of God is as everything. God is everything. And I don't think he's a man who's sitting up there judging us. I don't think we're being judged in any way. I think we're being loved in spite of our faults. So, and just know that I'm not judging anybody. I'm the last person who's going to judge anybody, because I know how hard it is, how painful it can be when you're being judged. And I've been judged a lot. So, what was interesting too is that you can develop this detachment to others' judgments too. And that's something I can talk about in another video. And If you have something that you want me to talk about, please put it in the comments and I'll see. I can usually come up with a story. I like to tell stories. And I don't mean like imagination stories, I mean stories from my own life. And I can usually commiserate and, all that stuff. And just know we're all here for each other. So let's be for each other and give each other that love and support and imaginary hugs. We get a big bear hug and a kiss. Okay? So I'll do my best to post every week, once or twice, and the longer videos. And like I said, I'm going to do shorter videos as well, like the shorts. Has to do with a quote and how I relate to that quote and how I think you can relate to the quote. And hopefully that'll come out today as well. I'm busy. I have a house to clean, and that's not as easy as it sounds, because procrastination, it's a very big stepping stone for me to clean, but it feels good when you're done. So yeehaw. Anyway, thank you very much. And stay curious. And come back. See me. Say hello. And don't forget, subscribe and like. Help me grow this channel. Love you.